Hi, folks. Me and the boys want to talk to you about capacity, number of bad guys, real defensive gun use, etc. Five is not enough, aka J frames suck. Capacity is like cardio, it buys you time in a fight. Okay, so actually, I'm mad because there's always like two camps to this, right? There's older guys that go, oh, my J frame's just fine. And then there's, the other camp that is like, unless you have the latest, greatest, comped, red dotted, weapon mounted light thing that all the YouTubers actually don't carry. They don't even carry at all. But they're like, you're going to die in the streets. Statistically, there is preponderance of the most likely, the still pretty likely, and then outlier or black swan events. So it just kind of bugs me that there's this camp and there's this camp and there's a whole lot of reality in the middle that people are missing out on as far as capacity that may be fairly likely required, the number of bad guys that is likely. Some of this is spewed on by a recent video, Lock and Load with Dick Fairbairn did. Now, I think he used to write for a bunch of magazines, retired cop. He has a lot of very good knowledge. I'm subscribed to his channel. I like a lot of his content, but occasionally he kind of throws out outdated data or FUD lore that really upsets me, which is why I'm making this video. And it's not just him, though. It's like the retired cops who think like a gun has to be a Glock 17 with a TLR-1 HL for duty weapon, and then like off-duty retired, they're like, my J-frame, 5 shots, just fine. AKA, I was going to say, J-frame sucks. So hate me in the comments down below. It's better than nothing? Yeah, but most shooters absolutely suck. J-frame is an aluminum frame, typical J-frame, let me put it that way, is extremely hard to shoot well. It's very light with a very heavy, shitty trigger, especially newer ones, with unusable sights unless you get the ultimate carry. So completely small trench, small sights, short sight radius, heavy trigger pull, very lightweight. Guys that work really, really hard just to get 8-inch pie type stuff at 7 yards and in, but most people can't shoot for a shit even past 3 yards with that. So if your platform doesn't allow you to shoot well at least 10 yards, okay, then your platform's too small, too light, etc. And then that's even at one static target, standing target lined up, let alone movement and transitions that are required in a real defensive gun use. Okay, so is 5 enough? No, 5 is not enough. This is much better than a J-frame. This is my 40 Pitbull. Not only does it have way better terminal ballistics than a 38 with most ammo, unless you really get the best, and even then, the best is here. This is like, I'm carrying it with 165 grain punch. I have an upcoming video in water jug testing using Dick Fairbairn's method, but I've also studied Schwartz and McPherson and lots of other guys, and Dr. Martin Fackler, and military papers. There's 5 different formulas to get water jug compared to real organic gel. This is much better because it also has a wide rear tunnel trench, so it's just much better. Okay, but this may not be enough. Okay, why do I say that? While the biggest preponderance may be 3-4 rounds fired, okay? Maybe. If it's a single attacker and they weren't that determined and it's a young kid doing a stick up and he just runs away at the sight of a gun. Or the first bang, okay? The first noisemaker that goes off, maybe they're running. Now, maybe they're shooting sideways, halfway backwards, but yes, but even that, if that's a mean average, 3 to 4, and I'm not going off the 3-second, 3 yards, 3 shots, that was just completely made up. It wasn't based on anything. But there's old data isn't as good as like what's happening in the real world now. Really old data on plainclothes FBI and DEA agents. But even then, three's a mean average, so some of them were 5, 6, 7. Okay, maybe, right? Because a lot of them maybe just 1 or 2 and they run off. Undetermined attackers. So while the preponderance may be in there, there's still a large segment that are going to fall in that 6 to, let's say, 10 or 6 to 11 round range. Where something like this, and this is kind of on the smaller, lighter side that most can't shoot it well, and I can shoot it pretty good, a nice deep concealment piece, the Stoeger STR9 we see here, 13 plus 1. Okay, 3.3 inch barrel, so better than like a lot of the 3.1 inch barrel, better hollow point expansion ballistics, but even this, most people, this is a too light, not as easy to shoot well. So even if you broke it down statistically in 1 to 5 shots, 6 to 10 shots, 11 to 15, or 11 to 16, right? Because a plus 1. So I like to look at it 6 to 10, maybe 6 to 11, because a lot of pistols are 10, and you can load the chamber, top it off, burning it, 10 plus 1. A lot's going to happen in there. How many require more than 11? Now, of course, constitutionally, you never know. And me personally, I am not comfortable with less than 13, 14, and 9 millimeter. I'm more likely okay-ish, depending on the area, 9 rounds of 45, 10, 11-ish rounds of 40, 13, 14-ish rounds of 9 mil. Do I think the difference, like Paul Harrell said, between like 5 and 8 or 9, is there a big difference? That could be the difference between living and dying, or saving someone and them dying. Yeah, there's a whole lot in that mid ground, which is why I'm making this video. I'm basing that on Tom Given's instructors. So there's a lot of data. He's had a lot of students that got in defensive gun uses. The 3 that weren't carrying died, and everyone that was carrying was successful. So heads up, always be carrying. Always be carrying. For all your ABCs, always be carrying. EDC, everyday carry, not your psychic, and you only think only at night and only bad areas. Everyday carry. But there was a lot of them that required 6 to 11. Now, if you're only 10 at work, well, the J-frame just sits so nice in a pocket. Well, guess what? So does this and a whole lot of other micro 9s. This is 12 plus 1. Now, if you're not as big as me, and occasionally I may be required in a pocket, certain work environments, certain environments, that kind of thing, put a 10-round base plate in, 10 plus 1, that's still a lot better than a J-frame. It's a lot more shootable, okay? If you really tested yourself to draw quick shots with some movement or transitions, and a lot of you can't do that, but you could at least simulate the draw like Greg Ellifritz Fitness just had, bringing it up or going from here to pushing it out, and do at least head, body, do at least those transitions to reacquire the front sight, target focus, that kind of thing. Now, most people could shoot something like this, and I'll do a separate video. A macro size, not the micro size, not your Shield Pluses, not your micros, not your Hellcats, not your P360 sucks, 5s with no trigger dingus, and you might shoot yourself more likely, right? Especially in a pocket carry situation. But most people are going to shoot a macro size or a subcompact size a heck of a lot better, like this GX4 macro. Or GX4 carry, it's called. But this is macro size, 3.7 inch barrel. I got a lot of surface area to get a nice two-handed grip. Always work on one-handed shooting. That's much more realistic. But a lot of people, this is the level where a lot of people can start to shoot fairly well. And it's even kind of light for a lot of them. Physics is a thing. Recoil is a thing. Subcompact. Now this one is in 40, but this is an M&P 2.0. Not the subcompact. I don't know. Yeah, I guess this was called a subcompact. They have different ones, like the modern one still produces 9mm, has a 12-round 9mm magazine. This is 13-round 40, or it could be, back in the day, 15-round 9mm with a 3.6-inch barrel. Now you're getting heavier. So this is very shootable. Now this is heavy on the hip, so this is probably my next winter's carry. So winter carry, I do like 40 or 45 because it's not going to shrink through multiple layers of clothing. 40 has a lot of energy. It's more likely a 40 HST or punch to expand going through multiple layers of clothing. But the point is size and weight, shootability, the macro size, the subcompact size is more shootable than the micros. It's more shootable, definitely, than a very light 15 ounce or even less J frame with a very heavy trigger, not usable sights, a very thin trough, etc. J frames suck. Okay, hate me, Smith and Wesson. You discriminated against me anyway. But so let me talk about my defensive gun uses. My 11 times, and there's probably more, but the 11 times I've thought of that I've needed a gun in 7 years. Out of those 11 times that I've needed a gun, I'm doing a video each month on each one. 3 are already out on the 1st, the 2nd, and the latest, the 11th. Out of my 11 times in just 7 years, I've needed a gun. 5 out of 11 times were 2 or more bad guys. Okay? It was 2 attackers or would-be attackers 3 of the times. It was 5 2 of the times. 5 or more, actually. 5 or more. 5 plus 3 across the street. 5, maybe 6 another time. So 2 times at least 5. Okay? 5 out of 11 times were 2 or more. Dick Fairbairn said, where are the statistics? I think that was directed at me, so I'm making this video. Well, if you actually looked at the current FBI statistics were bullshit. They had to call them back. We all know what's going on there and getting looked at. But I think it was the 2018 when you don't just look at the overview, but you look at each one. It was already an exponential bell curve of 1/3 of attacks were multiple attackers, 2 or more. 1/3. It was already going like this. And let me remind you, that's before 2020 riot seasons and everything that was going on, which maybe is I was living about an hour outside Atlanta at the time, while a lot of mine happened in that area during this time frame of heightened badness and bad guys, not even having to go to jail, and low bond or no bond type stuff that's been going on from source appointed prosecutors. So keep that in mind, but it was already going up and it's been worse since then. So old guys that don't go out of the house think that their situation is the same as a single mom having to work 2 or 3 jobs, coming in late at night, locking up a diner, and then having to go clean a business, from 2:30 a.m. to 6:30 a.m. Like, they're not those in the inner city. The situational threat level is different. Okay, so 5 is statistical average, maybe enough, but there's a whole lot where that even 6th or 7th or 8th. So even to me, a Taurus Ultralight 856 like I got, 6 rounds, is a better single carry. And let's just finish this off with reloads. These guys carrying single stacks and my 4 reloads, or my double stack with a red dot because I'm going to be a hero in a Black Swan event. Reloads are not going to happen other than maybe a Black Swan event. I can always carry a backup gun. Look at my 9 reasons to carry a backup gun. So my extra ammunition just happens to be in my pocket as a backup gun, and there's 9 reasons to carry a backup gun or more. Look at my video on that. So I have my extra ammo loaded in that. Now, I do have an extra mag in the center console of the car, and I do put it in my back pocket for potential Black Swan events when I go into big box stores, especially Walmart. Okay, if I go into Walmart, if I go into, like, Lowe's or something like that, or if I go to a mall or movie theater, I do carry the extra mag. Plus, I usually have a backup gun as well. But like Dick Fairbairn, well, I got 5 plus 1 or 45, by God, 45 is just going to magically vaporize someone. Now, it does do more in tissue crush matters and the higher propensity of nicking a vital structure like a aorta or a spine goes up with a bigger bullet expanded good hollow point. We have seen on ASP a few times 13, many times at 13, but were the last two really needed as they were already way far off? Probably not. Have we seen 18 from a professional shooter, almost professional, very, very high level, probably grandmaster level shooter in Brazil? Only two bad guys. He needed 18 rounds, servings back and forth, because even the guy that down on the ground kept sitting up to aim at him, to shoot at him. Okay, that he probably even hit the lower spine. Okay, that guy's still sitting up. Now, that was likely FMJ, but there are some outlier events. But do I want 9 rounds 45, 11, 12 rounds of 40, or at least 13 rounds of 9mm? Yeah. Is 13, 14, and 9mm so much worse than 18? It is very unlikely you're going to the end. Constitutionally, should you be able to have whatever you want? Absolutely. But guys, please hate me in the comments below. Let me know your thoughts. But please think about those Tom Givens instructors. Quite a lot of them were, I believe, and Tom Givens, let me know. ASP, let me know. And what you see on video, we've seen it on ASP, okay? Quite a lot of them are in that 6 to 11 rounds needed range. So that's what I'm saying. It's not this camp, and it's not 18 round Mega Blaster comped red dot, though I have one now and I'll probably carry that next winter. Very efficient. Shadow Systems MR920p, because it's still lightweight to carry with all the goodness and advantages. Okay. But it's really not these camps, guys. Look in the middle ground, just like most debates. The middle ground here from the entire gun industry is being neglected. So 6 plus an 18,000 round magazine backup, you're not going to have time, except for a block swing active shooter event. You're not going to have chance or time to reload. It's time in the fight. It's like a professional MMA fighter that I was, having absolutely no cardio. You got to have enough cardio to be in the fight. Look at my 3579 rule. You need enough time in the fight to protect yourself and the loved one, to make them go away. Or, what if you actually hit someone when, police statistics, only 20% of the time are your shots going to matter. If you only got 5, and there's transitions and movements and you're older and your draw sucked and is slow, whoo boy, you have really stacked the deck against you. But you need enough time in the fight, and there's a whole lot of gunfights that are going to be not in that 3 seconds, but in that 4 to 7.5 second range before the bad guys are driven off, or the 1 out of the 2 or 3 you hit is down on the ground, or he's kneeled down and he's still actively engaged in that close range gunfight with you. Guess what? You need rounds. Buy you time. Time is important. So you need those at least like 11 plus rounds of 9mm. I think 13's minimum in 9mm. Okay, do I need 18, 20? Not necessarily. But I wouldn't go lower than 9 rounds of 45, 9 rounds of 40, even 9 rounds of 9mm. If you're a smaller person, a PPS M2 that was just on sale would do you really well, but I think you need 9 rounds of gun. Please look at my 3, 5, 7, 9 rule. Averages about distance. A whole lot in that 3 to 7 yard range. 3 to 5 yard range is the most. 2 to 7 is still very highly likely. And then there's swan events at 12, 15, 21, 24 feet. And there's been instances of 40, Dickin, 40, 42 yards, and even longer, 75 yards, 76 yards, rescuing a cop with a Colt Python. 100 yards, 103 yards at an Air Force base being attacked. So, guys, let me know what you think in the comments down below. Thank you very much. I hope you learned a lot. And the middle ground's usually the right. So, hey, you want to do another reaction to this, I welcome you. But I actually look at stats, my own defensive gun use. Remember, 5 out of 11 defensive display type situations have been 2 or more. Twice have been 5. Oh, the single ones, by the way, 2 have had a rifle or AK pistol. 1 had a very large dog when it was a single guy as well. Look at all my videos coming out about that. I think those are important statistics to think about, just my own personal statistics. And even one of the times it was 2 guys, one of them had body armor. Yeah, actually had body armor on. So, guys, kaboom. Watch all the videos about details of all those defensive gun displays, which I do believe there's 3 and 3.5 million times each year. Kaboom.